Hi, let's look at part 9 of the video series, which is linked to AZ304 real exam questions. Please subscribe to my channel. Let's straight away jump into the questions. For questions 1 to 56, please refer parts 1 through 8 of this video series. So, for me, these are the keywords. The first piece of the question you can just ignore because this is not useful for answering. This first part just says that there are subscriptions, there are resource groups and management groups. That's all. So subscription, we know it is at the highest level. So let's try to understand the keywords here. It's the first thing it is saying is owner role for subscriptions should be prevented from deleting the resource groups from their respective subscriptions. So uh, the owner rule for the subscription should be prevented, then it means that I need to do something at the subscription level. Okay, so let's try to answer this question first. Prevent the deletion of the resource groups. How do you prevent? So whenever you want to prevent, always remember you have to apply locks. If you want to prevent someone from deleting and so on, uh, locks is the way. Now the this three options, it gives you lock at different levels. Okay, so in here, this kind of stuff, it's better to use blueprints, because you see there are around 30 resource groups. Then there are child management groups and so on. So better we use blueprints. Blueprints is like, if you have a building and the architect designs a blueprint first. This blueprint gives you a repeatable format. Anybody can go there and see this blueprint and understand uh, this pipe connection or this electric connection goes via which path. In this case, Azure Blueprint is used for repeatable stuff. So you suppose you have subscription, management groups, resource groups, resources, so many stuff. So you create a blueprint because that way it is easier to manage. Whenever you have another environment where you have to create this, you can use the blueprint directly. It's a template kind of thing. Okay. And there you set the locking mode at subscription level, because this will help you lock the resources at the subscription level itself. Since we are not doing it manually, so resource locks at subscription level will not be helpful, because I mean, compared to the manual option, blueprint assignments is a better option. So that's why this option 3 is wrong. And then resource locks at resource group level. So when the question itself is saying at a subscription level, if you see this owner role for subscriptions, then there is no use putting a lock at resource group level. It has to be put at a higher level, which is subscription. Now let us see the one more thing I want to highlight here is why we chose blueprint assignments is because the question says minimize administrative effort. So blueprints is a template that you can create, and it can minimize administrative effort also. So now let's look at update the RBAC role assignments. Here the question says ensure that you can update RBAC role assignments across subscriptions and resource groups. So you want to update RBAC role assignments across subscriptions and resource groups with minimized administrative effort. See, this option, Security Center, is used to improve the security posture of your organization. It gives you security score like this. So this security score of 57% means you still have some more points where your security posture is not great. So here now for RBAC we could have used Azure policy, but then the question says minimize the administrative effort. So blueprint is again the right way. In blueprint, you can do uh, policy assignments, role assignments. So if you see here, we did a policy assignment and we created a lock mode for subscription. So this documentation, if you see, these are the stuff it can do. You can do role assignments. So in our question, first one that we are seeing, RBAC assignments has to be done via that. Then you can do policy assignments like we did. We created a lock at subscription level, and then it creates templates so that you can move from one environment to the other seamlessly and very easy. Just it's just like a template code as an infrastructure, or infrastructure as a code, which will help you recreate it automatically with minimized admin efforts. So we have our both the answers. We will lock this and move forward. So this question, it says you have a storage account, and that storage account needs to use custom encryption keys. So take the example of Infosys signing a contract with a big project, with a big client. It got a massive project. Uh, Assume it's $100 million project, and those documents, that contract documents, etc., has to be stored in a safe place, and they have stored it on Azure storage account. Okay, mostly such documents people try to store on premises, but assume that they are convinced that Azure is very safe and they want to store on storage account. Now they want to make it very safe so that only authorized people can access, and it should be accessed via encryption key only. That means encryption key is like, suppose you go to a church or a temple, and then outside you have a person sitting, and they you give them your shoes, because inside the temple you cannot wear shoes. You give them your shoes. They keep it for like 15 minutes. Once you are done with your worship, you come back, and so that guy gives you a token when he takes your shoes. Once you come back, you have to give that token. That is the encryption key. If you don't give that token, he will not give you your shoe. He doesn't know if you are the right person. He has to give it to the right person, an authorized person whom this shoe belongs to. Similar concepts works for storage account. The storage account will only allow you to access if you have this encryption key. If you don't have this encryption key, it will not allow you to access. Now the question is saying, what will you implement for this encryption? See, whenever I see such encryption key being used, my answer is always key vault. Okay, Azure gives you this service. All keys are stored in a key vault. See, you maybe if you go to that temple, that guy who keeps your shoes, you will see he has a big box where he keeps all these access tokens, or all these tokens which he will give to the customer, and he has the token number also. Token number 303 he has given to this customer, etc. He has these numbers also. So what is this box where he stores these tokens that he will give to the customers? This box in Azure world is called key vault. This is where the keys will be stored. So I got my answer. Option D is my answer. But I will also explain options A, B, and C. See, the question is asking about encryption key. It is not asking about certificate. There are two things. You can store certificates also in key vault, and you can also store key. So there is no need of certificate here because the question doesn't ask for. Hence, A is wrong. Now, managed identity, the purpose is very different. I'll explain you the purpose of managed identity. Suppose you are a developer and you are working on, you are constantly accessing. Suppose you are ETL developer and you are constantly accessing your database. Okay, and you are using your own credentials to access it. Every time it prompts, because it's a secure database. Suppose it's a prod database, and you are doing some sort of troubleshooting on prod. You are having an application maintenance contract with the client, and you're troubleshooting the prod environment. So every time you're giving this key, but you're fed up. You always have to remember, for this database, for prod, this is my username password. For that data source, this is my username password, etc. So in order to make life of developers easy, managed identity has been provided so that that identity is created in Active Directory. You don't have to always prompt, or it will not prompt for your username password always. It will implicitly take it via managed identities. But here there is no use case of managed identity because it doesn't solve the encryption issue. See, the option C, see, premium subscription for Active Directory. This, suppose you are in a hybrid environment. Suppose you are working for a client, some big financial client, and they have a hybrid environment. That means they have on premises, some applications on premises, and some applications on Azure cloud platform as well. Now, you don't want different AD username and password to be used when you access resources on premises and when you access Azure. So you want a single AD account and username password to access both. In that case, if that is the case, if you have a hybrid environment both on premises and Azure cloud, use Active Directory premium subscription. But it is not used for solving the encryption key issue. That's why C is wrong. So this is my final answer. We will lock this answer and move forward. Now let's look at this question. So in this question, these are my keywords. The reason I'm using these keywords are because these are changing the course of the question. The first thing, this question is very simple. There is a web app and it uses Active Directory for authentication. So just like you have a website and, for example, Amazon.com, and you have to sign in. So similar to that, there can be an Active Directory through which, using those credentials, you will sign in a corporate environment. And then what it says is you need to recommend a solution to provide users from multiple AD tenants to access the app one. See, you, uh, I mean, you are there is one tenant. So tenant is like an organization. So consider this: uh, the client is State Farm in US, and it has its own tenant for accessing the web app. So now what happens is, uh, suppose you are working for an IT company like Wipro, and now you as a consultant, you will need access to the State Farm uh, infrastructure, applications, and this web app also. So what will they do? They will give you guest access, okay, because you are having a different AD tenant. So if you are coming to access another app which is registered in another AD tenant and you are trying to access it, it has to be happening via guest accounts. So this is my first answer. So whenever you see so many options, always get suspicious that this is a multi-choice question. If you see here, it says two types of objects, so we have to select two answers. Now, other thing which is important here is MFA, multi-factor authentication. So if you want to do it, suppose you are a guest account, you are working for Wipro and you are accessing State Farm apps. So they are saying that you cannot access it just using your username password. It should also give you a multi-factor authentication, like some code on your app, some MFA app will be there. You will get a code and you have to put that code also. So if you want to do that, so we have already created a guest account for you for this Wipro guy. And then what we have to do is we have to give it conditional access policy. We have to set this. Conditional access is like if then statements. So if it is a, in this case, if it is a guest account, then enable multi-factor authentication, like that. So one thumb rule, whenever you see MFA, chances of conditional access policy is very high. So just think about it. MFA, conditional access policy, MFA, conditional access policy. And whenever you see you are trying to access other app in other tenant, you have a multiple tenant environment, then guest accounts. That is a thumb rule. So I got my two answers, but let's look at these three or four options. Managed entities, like I explained earlier, if you are a developer who is constantly accessing different data sources and you don't want to type in your username and password again and again, then we create managed entities. Managed entities cannot be used for MFA and multi AD tenants, etc. So this option is totally wrong. Then identity experience framework policy. This is uh, they have launched something for a B2C kind of environment. This is totally different. I mean, not popular, not heard of. They have put some open source code on GitHub also. So they create a user experience workflow, and which can gather data from multiple data sources, and it can apply some common logic across those data sets. See, this problem is not a security group problem. That's why option D is wrong. Security group, what it does is, for example, you have your VM, okay, and then you decide that nobody from the internet can access this VM. This is my private VM. You can create a security group, and if you can address this problem. But security group will not help you accessing, with multi AD tenants and MFAs. It will not help you. So this is totally wrong. See, this option E, it is used. See, what is our app protection policy? Suppose you are accessing some app, some mobile app for a company, and then the corporate wants you to view some document, but they do not want you to download and save it in your local mobile phones. If that is what needs to be done, then an app protection policy can be created. But app protection policy will not help you with providing access to multi AD tenants and MFA, etc. So E is wrong in this context. So we will lock these two answers and move forward. Let's look at this question. See, this company is already having on premises and they are using Active Directory. That is the first part. The second part says is, now they want their users, if they are in the office on their desktop from the office campus, they should be automatically signed into cloud apps. It should not again prompt for username password. They can access cloud apps directly, and you need to engage SSO for the company users. So it's a SSO whether they access on-premises resources or cloud resources. It should be seamless for them. Now, how to achieve this? The solution is given in this question, and they are asking whether this solution will help you achieve this or not. So the solution says configure EDDS server on the virtual machine. So this itself is wrong. In this case, whenever you want on-prem, always remember this. Please focus on this again. On-prem and cloud. Whenever these two people have to talk, there has to be AD connect. Okay, there has to be AD connect server. Then only they can talk. That is first thing. So this itself is wrong. This first line. The second line they are saying is they are configuring bidirectional replication. That is not required because this itself is wrong. So this will not meet our goal. Our answer here is no, because we do not see AD connect used in the solution. So please subscribe to my channel. If you have any constructive comments or any appreciation, please drop in your comments. This brings us to the end of part 9. We'll see you in the next part.